I know it's been a little bit since I've done things. Crank that down just even a little bit more if I can. Okay. So, what have we got going on today? Well, we have a couple things. The stream title actually tells you a couple things. First of all, we're going to finally try to tackle this man, who would be the Captain Multicolor of the stream title. Now here's the thing. I'm not going to just be digging through a bunch of random cards because I did that already. And this is all different colors. There's colorless. There's a bunch of lands. There's the single colors. There's some multicolors at the back. And I'm going to try to build the Joda deck today. Here's the thing. You know the Tiana deck that we've been working on, right? Well, I have it over here still. This is how many cards we need for the deck. This is how many we have. We got to work on narrowing that down a little bit. So that's going to be some work. I'm going to do that one a little bit later because we have a little bit of an easier job first. We have Lifeboy. And it is Daxos Blessed by the Sun. Now, typically where I've used him in a deck, he was not the lead card of it. I've used him with Heliod before. What we're going to do is we're going to make this commander deck where he's very important because first of all, he's cheap. And second of all, it's life gain whenever a creature enters the battlefield or dies. Now, I do have some cards pulled for this already. A lot of them are just ones that I pulled from the Angel deck that we made for Tiana. There are some other cards, though, that I just pulled because I was going through some boxes and I wanted to make sure I had these out here. Like, there's the Elixir of Immortality, which gets us life and also lets us recycle a bunch of cards. Traveler's Amulet is just good to go searching for our basic land, which in this deck it's going to be a mono white deck, so we really don't need more than just basic lands unless we throw in some special land. And because it's a mono white deck, I added the Angel's Feather, which is whenever a player plays a white spell, so even if my opponent does, you may gain 1 life. So there's a couple cards like that. Some removal, some graveyard removal if I need it to also gain life. We've got our Warhammer. We've got an interesting card. It's a transform card. It's the Chalice of Life, which gains us life until we have at least 10 more life than our starting total, and we transform it into the Chalice of Death, which helps us burn out our opponents. One of the cards I'm sort of iffy on including. He's fine, but I don't know if, especially for his steep total, I don't know if it'll be worth it because I feel like he goes better in like a token-based deck where you're wanting a lot of things to get big all at once. Because he does just give a +1/+1. But we have some other cards in here, like we have the bird, we have the burb, the flying lifelink burb. Sunspring Expedition, which gets us stuff on landfalls and things. pacifism in here because it's just good. Some good white removal. The Nyx Fleece Ram for pretty good blocker and also life gain every turn. It's not a whole lot of life gain, but it is life gain every turn. And with cards like a Johnny's Pride Mate, it doesn't matter how much we gain, it more matters that we do gain to get those +1/+1 counters. The Aerial Responder, which is Flying Vigilance Lifelink. It's like the 1/1 burb, but bigger and a little bit better. We can turn any of our creatures into the Johnny's Pride Mate with this one, except it's a upgraded version of a Johnny's Pride Mate because we get that many +1/+1 counters. So if we gain, say, oh, I know there's a card back here. I just saw it recently. No, we'll go back to this. If we gain 5 life off of the Elixir of Immortality, we would gain 5 +1/+1 counters on whatever creature we put that on. So it'll be really cool if we can do that. And we got things like this one, which if we end up going wide, that'll be nice. But it's also not super expensive. But it'll gain us 4 life, and it's just a pretty good body. So I need to count how many we've got. We don't have to add too many to this pile, I don't think. But we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 30. Okay, so we got 30 right now, which means if we want to make a commander deck, we're going to need at least like 30 more cards. So it's not too bad. Could be worse. I have my box of white cards. Also got up here, I'm going to double check through this pile before we start into the white cards, because there's a pile of cards from where I opened an M21 box, and I want to make sure that I've got any of the cards out of this that I'm wanting. There's also some gorgeous planes that came with the M21 box, so those will probably go in our thing. Alright, so now get that figured out. Just pull all those white cards to the side and look through those real quick. Let's see. So we're really looking for life gain cards and stuff, and this one's just a good one because it's not only life gain, but it's also card draw, which is not near as common in white. Bosri's Acolyte, which is lifelink and also makes a couple of our creatures bigger. That seems good. The Sunbond, we have another one, except it's a little less expensive. Also on top of that, Pacifism. I don't know if we'll include both. There's a good chance we will. This one gains us life and does Pacifism and a little bit more. And I'm seeing a few more copies of the same cards that I've added, which are good cards, but I can only have one copy of each because this is Commander. Secure the Scene could be interesting because it makes them a 1/1 white soldier, but I could exile something super huge and then that would be extremely worth it. There's also Legion's Judgment, which is just pretty good. Let's see what else we got. There are some fine cards that are in this, but I think I'd rather look in the box before I decide to add any of the just fine cards. Let me double check that I'm not missing anything here. Okay. So set these off to the side again. So I can start going through these. So this is a little bit easier to figure out than the Tiana stuff. With Tiana, it was more along the lines of, okay, we've got to figure out, like, there's obviously, okay, we're making auras and equipment a big focus of the deck, but we have to figure out how are we going to do that. With this kind of deck, it's a little bit more straightforward, where it's it's pretty much set out. You just have life gain, and then you have sources that benefit from life gain, like a Johnny's Pride Mate and things. And even if you just have life gain and just some big creatures on the tail end, so that you can get to end game, it's kind of nice. This is definitely an include. So Impassioned Orator, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. That stacks with Daxos, so we can potentially get 2 life every turn we play something, which is really cool. Mesa Unicorn. Just got lifelink. I don't think we have one in there. That'll work. There's quite a few cards in here that are interesting, but I don't know if they're instant includes. Like, there's some things like this that are fine, but I don't know. I feel like I'd rather just double down on all the lifelink stuff and get some, like, full-on removal rather than just have, like, a little bit of poking damage on something that is a little bit more conditional. Because there are some decks that just don't play with the that just, like, don't attack ever. And so it would be kind of awful if you if that wasn't an option. Whereas we could throw in something like this man's, who just gains us a little bit of life whenever we need him to. I'm also thinking compulsory arrest. I know we added one to the Tiana deck because it's just kind of good. And it says you sacrifice the creature and then you gain 2 life. I don't know who the you is talking about, but either way, it's still just a good card. Banishing Light might be worth it. Some temporary removal at the very least. Unless they don't have enchantment removal, and then it's permanent removal. But the most obnoxious kind, where it's like, you are this close. You are this close. But maybe I'll throw him in. He's cheap enough, and he basically gives us 2 power and eventually lifelink. It seems fine. And it does actually work with the strategy that we're doing. There's a venerable monk who just gives us 2 life. Seems good. It's a 2/2 for 3 with a little added bonus. Maybe let's gain 3 life and then +1/+3. Seems fine. So while I'm looking through these cards, how are y'all doing today? It's been a fairly quiet morning for me so far. So I just decided that I wanted to make up for not streaming yesterday. I just wasn't feeling it. And I'd rather cancel streaming than just pretend. And just pretend everything, like just put on a smiling face and everything. Also, there just wasn't any games I was like really feeling like playing. So how are y'all doing? I'm doing alright myself. Got a nice cup of tea because that's how I do. Interesting. So I think I found a couple more cards to go in the deck. Pay No Heed is interesting. Which is just prevent damage. A source of your choice would deal this turn. At instant speed for 1, that seems great. It is a single target, so there's that. There's also this. I don't know if our opponents would have artifacts or enchantments, but typically you can't really get away with making a commander deck without artifacts and stuff, because at the very least you end up having some mana rocks and things that you use to help cast your spells, because 100 cards is a lot. And you want your cards to be useful. So, let's see. Man, there's not a whole lot going on at the moment. That could be interesting. So take heart. If I end up charging in with quite a bit, that could gain a good bit of life. So part of me is wondering if this is worthwhile. And part of me is saying that I have a 1/1 for 1 that does the same thing except it gains me half the life, and I don't have to pay every single time for the life. So I think the Zarichi Tiger is just kind of bad. Well, that one's straightforward. Chaplain's Blessing. You gain 5 life for 1. Yep. I don't think I have that one in there. I may have missed it, but I don't think that's in my deck. That's fairly solid. So it's the lifelink cleric that can become 2 spirits when he's in the graveyard. Alrighty. Another 1/1 that just gains us some life. Seems good. I don't want to have like so many 1/1s that it's just an army of 1/1s, because I do need some big things to actually like fill up the board late game, because that's kind of what we're marching to, is the fact that we can get to like a big board that we can just slam our opponents with when we've got life to spare. So this one will get us a lifelinker and make a lifelinker. So that's pretty good. I really like... So this was... Yeah, that was Rivals of Ixalan. I think I've mentioned it before. Ixalan and Rivals of Ixalan are 2 of my favorite packs. The reasoning behind it, I'm not quite certain if there's a great reason behind it, but it's kind of simple. It's that I really like all of the tribal decks that you could build in Ixalan. And so it was one of those situations where it was like, oh, I could make a dinosaur deck, or a pirate deck, or I could make a vampire deck, or I could make merfolk. Now granted, I still have not made a merfolk deck, but I have merfolk cards that I've thought a few times about making a deck about. But I will say it was awesome. And then I think those were the packs that I came back to Magic on, because I kind of I didn't necessarily leave Magic, but when I first got cards for it, I just didn't understand what to do. And so it was one of those that kind of perplexed me for a long time. But on this deck's terms, we have Aerial Assault, which, note, it just says it's tapped. It's not like attacking or blocking. So I feel like this one's a little bit better, because typically, like, even if decks don't have cards that you'll want to attack with, they're typically like tapping mechanics and things. And then there's this one, which I don't think is in the deck. I'm gonna double check real quick just to make sure, because I feel like I would have added that one already. We will check. I do not see it. Cool. And it's just it can be a good blocker, or you can chip in for a teeny tiny little bit. Alrighty. That is all of that little pile. And we're halfway through the cards, because I pulled out 6 stacks of cards. Not really like equally stacked cards or anything, but pulled out 6 stacks of cards from that box, so in theory we're about halfway there. Honestly, I know I mentioned it, I'd rather fill this up with lifelink, but this one may just be good to include, because no matter when we cast this, we're going to use white mana to cast it. So it's going to end up being a 3/6 for 4. I think I'm just going to throw it in there. I really like that card anyways. Like, I like the Adamant mechanic from Thrones of Eldraine. It's really, really neat, where it's like, if you pay like all of this single color, if you pay at least 3 of this single color to cast this spell, then you'll get a bonus. It's just kind of neat. I know there was a couple of them that were it was pretty much always knights. There was the Ardenvale Paladin. There was the Embereth. They may have all been paladins, actually, now I'm thinking about it. I don't remember. I remember it was Embereth was the red one. Ardenvale is that one. It would be Lochthwain for black, because I'm basing it. I'm solely guessing that it's based on the castles that you could get in Eldraine. So that would be why I'm saying Lochthwain. I don't remember off the top of my head what the other castles were, what the blue and the green ones were. I've used the green one, and I believe it starts with a G. And I haven't really used the blue one, but I've owned the blue one in either digital or real versions. Alright, 2 more stacks to go. Don't know why the camera's not wanting to focus, but it's whatever. It's just a webcam. Alrighty. So we have some life gain and card draw. Still really good. Not a whole lot in this pile. And granted, I am just using the cards that I have on hand. I'm not like specifically looking for a like I'm not looking for specific cards. I'm just kind of looking for mechanics that will work with this deck. And there's lots of like lots of cards that are probably really, really good for this kind of deck, like Heliod, but I just don't have them. So we got this one, which is interesting, where it's either life gain or damage prevention, which is kind of neat. We had that prevent combat damage from a single source, or prevent damage from a single source. This is just prevent combat damage. Alrighty. So we're kind of just trying to stay alive, and I need to be on the lookout for just some big threats to slam onto the board later on. It may be that. Alrighty. Got a pious interdiction, which is pacifism with life gain. Solid. There is your bog standard little vampire with lifelink soldier man. Pretty good. I'm gonna set this off to the side. It's just a good card. And late game, it may be the type of thing that will save us. So we also have Dazzling Reflection. You gain life equal to target creature's power. The next time that creature would deal damage this turn, prevent that damage. That is fantastic, because it's basically like they're hitting us and we're healing. Well, you know how we just talked about that? Well, we also have the same thing, but less expensive and a little bit backwards. And actually, Dazzling Reflection guarantees we'll get the life gain, whereas the other one, it's if they deal damage. So it may be like they have a sacrifice mechanic or something to prevent actually dealing damage. Okay, that's interesting. So we have the Alabaster Mage, which can give creatures life gain until end of turn. It's basically Heliod, right? Except not indestructible and definitely not as strong. Seeing a lot of repeats from what I saw earlier, which is not a problem. It's just kind of frustrating. We have Riot Control, which is another prevent all combat damage, or prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn, and life gain for each creature an opponent controls, or your opponent's control. So if you're playing 4-player Magic, that can be a huge card. That seems interesting. So we have Fumigate, which is not only a board wipe, but it's a board wipe with value. Yeah. We got another angel. I'm gonna set it off to the side. It's the Aegis Angel, which is gives another target indestructible until Aegis Angel leaves. Got Font of Vigor, which just gives 7 life for, at the end of the day, 5 mana. Seems okay. We've got Gain 4 life and Bolster. Seems good. But hey, that's interesting. So we have like Life Defender? I don't know. It's Defender with basically lifelink on blocks. I don't know why they didn't just give it lifelink. I guess in case you give it +1/+1 counters and somehow get it to attack. I don't know. Ooh. That's also interesting. So there is Solar Tide, which either destroys all creatures with power 2 or less, or destroys all creatures with power 3 or greater. You can only choose one, or you can sacrifice 2 lands to do both and just do a full board wipe. That's interesting. We also have Timely Reinforcements, which is life gain, but also if you control fewer creatures than an opponent, put 3 soldiers on the battlefield. That's kind of neat. What else do we have? There's Tandem Tactics, which gains life and also up to 2 creatures get +1/+2. Alright, so that is all the cards gone through. Now we need to see what all we got. Because here's the thing. We have lots and lots of life gain outlets now, based on just the cards that I pulled. But do we have enough cards to take advantage of those life gain outlets to the point that we can actually like win games? Because it doesn't happen often. But in theory, you could mill yourself out in a game of Commander. It's just a lot harder because you have 99 cards in your deck. Now, it's not impossible, like I say, but it's a lot more difficult. But if we just survive until, either our opponent mills himself out or we do, that's not great. So we need to guarantee that we've got enough big cards in here to make it worth our while. So I'm going to set Daxos off to the side. I'm not going to count him in all of this because he's just going to be ever present. So what do we have as far as our curve goes? Now, as far as curve, I don't know if I've ever explained it. I think I may have once or twice. Curve is basically like, what does your 0 mana cost, 1 mana cost, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on look like? So, for instance, we're going to start over here with our 6 cost Aegis Angel, and here with our Sarah Angel. And I may have to scoot these a little bit over because I don't think we're going to have too many of those, but we're going to have a ton of like 2 and 3. I may actually stack, it may be 5 and higher will go in this stack, like our Solar Tide. But we're going to have a ton of 1 costs. I don't think we have any 0 costs, so I don't think I have to worry about that. But 1, 2, and 3 is where a lot of our stuff, I feel like, hits. Both of our board wipes are huge, though, which is fine because it's a board wipe. Just laying out all of these just to see what our mana curve looks like. I'm going to scoot those over just a tad more. Pious Interdictions right there. Starts the 4 stack. So this is the thing. Like, usually you would spread it out a little bit more, but just because of the angle that I've got, I don't have a whole lot to work with. I could use down here, but I'm also resting my hands here currently. And also, these might extend all the way down because it's huge. I mean, look at how many 1-drops we've got right now. Or 3-drops. 3-drops is usually where you find a whole lot of cards. Now, I will say I'm laying them out this way for a couple of reasons. 1, I can see the mana cost. 2, I can see the titles of the cards, which means that it's a lot easier to double check if you've got doubles of cards. For instance, if I was like, okay, do I have another Soul Mender? I can just look through all my 1-drops and see that no, I don't have another Soul Mender currently. Now, this is about to get a lot easier to sort because I did a little bit of sorting before. So once we hit the cards that I didn't add in today, it should actually all be sorted out. Got Bosries, Revitalize, and now we've got our 1-drops. I'm just gonna lay these all down nice and neatly all at once. Here's the thing. The other thing that this lets us do is see like where we need to bolster our costs a little bit. And if I know what the cards are, I can be like, okay, I've got too many of this mechanic. I need to drop some. Like if I was like, oh, I have like too many removal things, or oh, I have too many cards that are like I have too many lifelink outlets and I don't have enough ways to actually win. I could pull some cards easily. So, because I'm already iffy on Sir Alan, I set him off to the side where you can't even see him. I know you can barely see the ones on the edge anyways. And actually, one of the things I'm going to do real quick, got my 5, I've hit 5 and 6 for my piles. I'm just going to separate these over here between 5 and 6. That way, it's a little more accurate. So I'll put my 6s at the underneath. And then I'll drop my 5s on top. Okay, so it actually looks fairly even, which is kind of odd because typically that's not what ends up happening. What ends up happening is you hit a lot in this column specifically. With this deck, the way it works, there's just a ton of 2-drops. So now I need to count these and make sure I've got enough. I should have enough. This looks like a lot. We're just going to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73. Okay, so we have 73. Did not count Sir Alan. Did not count Daxos. We need to get this down to 64. So we need to cut 9 cards, which isn't too bad. It's not too bad at all. There are some cards that are definite includes, like Impassioned Orator is absolutely going to stay. Johnny's Pride Mate is absolutely going to stay. I think we're going to keep all of our large angels. Like, I think this end that you can't even see over here is going to stay. Just because I need cards to do things with when I've got all that mana built up and all the life built up and everything. What do I cut? I guess one of the places to start looking is going to be in these 2 columns. Because these 2 columns are going to be our big columns. And even if we have... It's okay to have multiple low drop cards. But you want to make sure it's kind of balanced out enough that, like... Having more 3-drops than everything else is fine. Having more 2-drops than everything else is still kind of fine. But you don't want to hit those really inexpensive, weak cards late game. So, I'm going to take a look at some of these cards and see what can be cut. Oops. So there are definitely some that I'm absolutely not going to cut. Just because they are the entire spirit of our deck. Like there's Aerial Responder and the Angel of Vitality. Absolutely stay again, 100%. Because this angel gets even bigger if I have 25 or more life. Which in Commander, you start with 40. So, it's kind of cheating, but it's fine. I really would like to use the Warhammer because it's been sitting just in a box for a while, and that seems kind of sad. We'll put the Light of Promise in for sure. think I'm going to pull Banishing Light out. It's just a good white card, and I can always use it in another deck. And I've got quite a bit of removal. Another interesting one to think about, I think I'm going to take out Sworn Companions, because it just gets me a couple of lifelinky soldiers, and there are other decks that use it better. Another weird one to think about is that Timely Reinforcements may not work as well as I would like for it to, because it does life gain if we have less life than the opponent, which we shouldn't if we're a lifelink deck. So it would be at best 3/1/1s for 3, which is fine, but there are other decks, and I think I know of one in particular that I've already built. I have a token Selesnya commander deck that I think that would work really, really well in. So that's 3 cards pulled out of 9. We're already a third of the way there. I guess this one's kind of iffy. It depends on how many flying creatures we have, which we should have a good number. But I'm not sure exactly how many. Granted, we do have, that I can currently see, a really good way of getting a bunch of flyers. We have Angelic Accord, which is if we gain 4 or more life this turn, we make an angel. So we'll call this at least 1. Nothing with flying in the 4-drop spot. That's kind of interesting. Congregate maybe we'll go in a deck better that has lots of tokens and things. So I'll go ahead and pull it out. So that's 4 already out of 9. We're almost halfway there. We're basically halfway there. Put those back. So we have 1 flying creature. Pretty much all the angels have flying, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just gonna pile it up. That's fine. 9, 10. 11. 12. So that's 12 creatures that we could hit with Aerial Assault. Potentially. It could be more based on, making angels. But I do have some other removal type cards in here that don't require something to be tapped. And I have other life gain cards in this that don't require me to have flyers out. Just in case I'm having that kind of game. I think I'm going to pull this for the moment. It may go back in if we find something else that just doesn't fit as well. So that's 5 out of 9 that we've pulled. We'll take a look at this. our 4 drops. See what we can do. Let's look at this. I think we've got better cards than Pay No Heed, even in our 1-drop spot. Like, this one is prevent all combat damage. This is prevent all damage a source of your choice would deal. Granted, that could block spells and things. Like, you could block sorceries and stuff that are huge. But I think I'm going to pull it for right now. So that's 6. We just need 3 more cards. And then we'll be good to go. Let's look at the 2 drops. So we do have I'll call it strictly better pacifism. Maybe. I don't know if it's better or not. If you're here for advice about cards, I don't know. I'm a casual player. Tandem Tactics is fine, but I'll go ahead and pull it. So that's 7. Huh. How many of the like the aura removal type things do we have? We have 1, 2, 'Do we just have 2 now? I'm almost certain we had another one. 3, 4. Faith's Fetters is strictly better Pious Interdiction. I think we pull Pious Interdiction. So that's 3 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 more card. So our big bombs are going to be some board clears and some big birds or angels. All right. Which makes our Bishop of Wings actually a lot better, because whenever an angel enters the battlefield under my control, I gain 4 life. And when an angel dies, he makes tokens. They make tokens. I don't know. For 5, gain 7 life. There was another one that I had that was... That one's 4, gain 7 life at instant speed. But this one could be 2 and then 3 on the next turn. I don't know. These two are basically the same card, except one's at sorcery speed. Which I suppose is actually strictly worse. Being as it's the same card for the same cost that does the same thing. Just this one's slower. So I'll pull that one. Cool. So that should be enough. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. Yeah. So that, in combination with that, and 35 planes, or I'll probably throw in an Evolving Wilds just to, well, I don't really need to, being as it's a monocolor deck. I'd rather just have the planes to hit rather than to get the Evolving Wilds and then have to pull the planes out. I think I'd rather just have the planes, being as I'm not hitting any weird lands or anything, as far as I know. I don't think I'm going to have an Arden Veil in this because it creates little soldiers that I think are going to be less useful than just having a planes that comes in tapped and such. So yeah, that should be the Daxos deck done. Cool! Lifeboy is finished. Now, this is the tricky part, because now that we got Lifeboy taken care of, which I'll put him over here, you cannot see him anymore, for he is actually right next to you. He's next to the camera. We gotta deal with this. Now, there's a few things we have to deal with Jodah. Jodah's an interesting card because you have to play every single color with Jodah to use his full effect. Which is you may pay one of each color rather than pay the mana cost for spells that you cast. So naturally, the goal of this deck that I have decided is to play large things. What I realized was it is a lot harder to find large things to take advantage of said ability. The best I was doing a lot of times was stuff like this, where it's 6 cost, which is cheaper by 1. It's fine. So I'm going to put Jodah over here. I don't think it's necessary that he stay right there. Now, another side effect of this. I have some other cards in here, and I'll need to lay all these out in terms of that. I do have cards that aren't huge, because I don't have to pay the 5. It says you may pay 5 rather than pay the mana cost. So I do have cards in here like that are just little red pinger spells and stuff. I basically tried to go through and for each color pick a specific like archetype. You'll see what I mean. Colorless is kind of weird, but for green, if this tells you anything about green, in this deck of big things, this is all green, this is everything else, except for colorless and multicolored. So in this deck of green things, I pretty much just went for large animules and some giants and stuff. This is probably my favorite card from all of Eldraine, Thrones of Eldraine. This is Beanstalk Giant, or if I play him, a lot of times he is Bean Boy. But he's a ramp spell first, and then he becomes a giant man's who is the size of as many lands as you have. He was like, "Sir, give me all your lands," and you kind of just said, "Okay," because that's how it do when you're fighting a giant that is giant and also giant. I do have things in the green section like Prey Upon, because if you're gonna have a deck full of large things, why not have them punch other things? And I have some fishing cards. Now, granted, one of them is I do have cards in here like Ranger's Path that might get cut because I don't know how many basic lands I'm going to end up having because of just making this deck work. So I'm going to split this one because I basically have two halves of this green section. Green section is either large thing or ramp. In the case of the Bean Boy, it is both. But he'll go in the large thing category because that's one of the big reasons why you have him. So, I do have an interesting ramp card that I pulled from my M21 stuff. This is Azusa, Lost But Seeking, who lets you play additional lands every turn, which is awesome in any green deck. But it is super ramp for a deck like this. So we're going to have Wrecking Beast, Rampaging Rhino. Elvish Aberration is actually somewhere in the middle, but it's mostly ramp because it gets us 3 green mana when it taps. It costs 6, but it is pretty much there for ramp. Yep. So, as far as trying to get, that's an oddball card. It just makes it huge where it's, well, I guess it's because I have large things. Accelerated Mutation. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control when you summon large boys. Why not? We got some more ramp. Get some more ramp. We got lots of ramp, ramp, and ramp. So, it's a fairly even split. A little bit higher on the ramp side of things for green. There's probably a lot of ramp cards that are actually going to come out of that because there were some in there that are kind of potentially not going to work. So, next we'll move on to blue, which blue is kind of weird. What it ended up being, I went looking for, hey, I'd like the largest cards you have, please. What I ended up with was so many sea creatures. But what did happen from that is a little bit of weird synergy with all the sea creatures. Because I have things like Scourge of Fleets, which is just interesting. It's mostly that it's a 6/6 that I can cast for 5 at some point. And if I end up with islands, there's a bonus. Now I do have other things like the Sphinx of Magosi, which don't fall under, the sea creature thing. But then I have things like, let me go find it real quick. Serpent of the Yawning Depths. Krakens, leviathans, octopuses, and serpents you control can't be blocked except by krakens, leviathans, octopuses, and serpents. Oh look, there's tons of krakens, leviathans, octopuses, and serpents in this, because I was looking for large things. We have a kraken, a serpent, a leviathan, and I know I have at least one octopus. So that's all 4 categories from that being, like, you know, worked with, which was interesting because I did not mean for that to happen. But hey, when you're looking for large blue things, although we also have in this Slinvoda, the Rising Deep, who also, if it's kicked, returns all creatures to their owner's hands except for merfolk, krakens, leviathans, octopuses, and serpents. I don't have any merfolk in this deck, I don't think. Nope, not as far as I know. Being as I've looked through both of the colors that are typically merfolk. And yeah, it's kind of neat how I accidentally came upon all this synergy. I actually don't have, but I have one counterspell. And that's it. I have a single counterspell. The rest is large things. Because with blue, I'm not near as concerned with blue. But it's important for my commander. Like, I have to have blue anyways for Joda to summon him. So sure. So we have our counterspell. Our one counterspell. And lots of large things. Next, we'll take a look at... we'll go on and look at white. White's nice and short. So, white's pretty simple. It's pretty much angels. Or just giants. So we have a couple of giants that just gain us life. That one puts some creature into its owner's library just beneath the top X cards, where X is the number of planes you control. I don't know how many planes I'm going to end up having in this deck, but that's fine. This is a giant that can block an additional creature, and when it does, when it blocks 2 or more creatures, it gains first strike, which is cool. And then there's Ornitharch, which is a 3/3 in and of itself with flying, which is not great. But if tribute isn't paid, which is an interesting mechanic that I was not really aware of until I was looking through and building these 3 decks that I've been building, I get 2 little birds for 5, which is fine. It's more likely to be cut from this than anything else, but it's fine. We just have the one white pile. It's just creatures. Just a bunch of creatures. We'll talk about, I suppose, red. Red was an interesting category for me. It's dinosaurs, dragons, giants, one serpent, which is interesting because that actually makes it compatible with the blue stack, and then removal spells. So we're just gonna shove this removal spell all the way to the back with the rest of the removal spells. So as far as creatures in the red section, we have the Lava Serpent, the Ripscale Predator, which is just a big dino boy with menace. We have Shivan Dragon, which is just great. I love the Shivan Dragon. We got the Axe Grinder Giant, who's just a big giant boy. And we've got Itali, Primal Storm. I love Itali. And if we're on the top card of our library and can play it without paying its mana cost, What if we hit a big card? Oh no, it's free! So, on the removal / other, just other card side of things, we have Mirror March, which lets us create non-token creatures, or lets us create tokens of non-token creatures for every coin flip we win. And that's every non-token. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under my control. This is a permanent enchantment unless it's destroyed. That can get real ridiculous. Because I can just slam into somebody. We have a large Cinderstorm, because it usually doesn't get played because it's expensive. But if I'm dealing 7 damage for 5 mana, well, that's a little bit better. We also have deal 13 damage to target creature and destroy target land for Into the Maw of Hell. And Lightning Bolt, because Lightning Bolt. So, one of the things that I really would like for this deck, that I can tell you right now I do not have, because we're about to go over the artifacts, is I would love a Chromatic Lantern. I just don't think I own one. Or if I do, it's in another deck. So we have Golos, which Golos is Golos. He is a scout, apparently. I can search for land and put it on the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. And with his ability, I can exile the top 3 cards of my library and play them without paying their mana cost. There's a ton of creatures in this deck, and I'm probably going to hit a creature with that. That's ridiculous. 7 mana for 3 cards for free. Which is why I think he got banned in certain things, but not in Commander. We have the Manalith, which is just some mana fixing. It's fine. We just got a big Golem Boy, a big Construct Boy that makes smaller Construct Boys or makes himself bigger, and then as a side effect to having a deck that requires this many colors, you're gonna use guild gates and stuff. Well, what better to put in there than the Gate Colossus? Worst case scenario, somehow I can cast him for less just off of Joda. Best case scenario, I cast him for free. Because of each gate you control making him cost less, and it's just generic mana. So if I have 8 gates, this man is free. And if I get if I put a gate onto the battlefield and he's in the graveyard, I get him back. That just seemed like an auto include in this deck. Now we'll talk about black, which was the other set that was large. Not quite as big as green. Maybe as big as green ramp. But we got my boy Yargle. I mean, it's going to cost the same no matter what, but Yargle's just cool. And he's big. We have Urgaros, the Empty One. Which just, he's got some value and he'll be a little less expensive if I get Joda out. So that's cool. A lot of it ended up being there's some, as far as creatures go, it's a lot of like grim, dark, and spooky type things like demons and zombies and such. And then the black cards, as far as sorceries and stuff are concerned, ended up being a lot of like removal / reanimator type stuff. So on the creature end of things, we have things like Villas, Broker of Blood, which is just kind of neat. We got a Death Touch 5/5 because of course, why else? What else would you need that 5/5 for? if you have to use the death touch part of the 5/5 for anything, other than like killing 5 things that blocked him, I don't know if you're using it right. Demon of Loathing, which just makes our opponent sack creatures whenever it deals combat damage to a player. We have a worm with scavenge, which is kind of cool. Can make a creature have 5 toughness on it, or 5 +1/+1 counters. Don't know how useful it's going to be as far as effect wise, but Defiant Bloodlord, whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Could be neat if it actually functions. I don't remember how much life gain we have in this deck. Might get cut just so I can put it in another deck. Now that's on the creature end. This is the other end. We have things like Wit's End, which is just gonna be interesting, just to make our opponent panic a little bit. This card, in case we want to find something in particular, like, say, I don't know, a ramp card if we're seriously like failing that badly, or a big card that we want to play for cheap. Cemetery Recruitment. I know we have some zombies in here, so that can make a little bit extra value. Also, it's just Reanimator. Board Wipe. Yep. Reanimator. Reanimator or potential Graveyard Ramp. Just straight up black ramp for a turn. And good old Murder. We've got Macabre Waltz, which I did not realize there was this art for Macabre Waltz. I like this art a lot. Which lets us bring back some stuff and get rid of something that might be clogging up our hand. And just Doomblade. Doomblade. So we got some removal, we got some graveyard play, and we just got big things. Now, a weird side effect of my multicolored cards is that I pulled in a lot of dragons. There's not a whole lot of dragons throughout the rest of this. However, in my multicolors, we have things like Kolaghan, which gives other creatures haste. And if an opponent casts a creature with the same name as a creature in their graveyard, they lose 10 life. That part is not going to be as useful, because this is Commander. But it's a 6/5 with flying and haste. We also have Erishan Sovereign, which when it dies, I may put it on the top or bottom of my library. It's kind of neat. We have Revel of the Fallen Gods, or Revel of the Fallen God, which just makes lots of 2/2 satyrs. That's just an expensive card that I've never put in a deck because it's expensive and I haven't seen the need for it, so why not this one? We have a Giant Boy, because he's expensive and big. We have a slightly less Giant Boy, but also I can get a forest or mountain out of it if I need one, or if I have one. We have this that gives Exalted, which makes our things bigger for the turn if they attack by themselves. Risen Sanctuary. It's just large with Vigilance. We have the Ruination Worm, which is just a large boy who costs a bit. And then we have an interesting card that I I'm not sure if I would have a deck for it ever. Silumgar the Drifting Death, who is a blue-black dragon that synergizes with other dragons. Now, typically, green and red are the colors for dragons, as far as I've seen. That's the first time I've ever seen a blue-black dragon. Which is interesting in a card that synergizes with other dragons. That means you have to play it in this kind of deck. Or at least a 4-color deck. So that's odd. Now, to make all this work, I have this stack of dual lands. Or multicolor lands. There's a few that are just straight up multicolored. Like I have a Sand Steppy Cliff. Or Sand Steppy Citadel. Which is white, black, green. I also have, I don't know if they're going to be useful, but I pulled an Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse in case I have basics. Gateway Plaza, which is any color, but I have to tap one when I play it. And then we get into the color-specific ones that are the dual lands. Now, I don't know which colors I'm going to have the most of. Looks like it's green and black. So, I think I'm absolutely playing every single one of these Golgari-colored ones, including a Guildgate. So that's 3. We got, I think I may just pull all of the, we've got quite a bit of blue too, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull all of these blue-black ones, including a Dimir Guildgate. I think I'd rather have, for as little white as we have, I think I'd rather play with the dual lands for that. So I think I'm going to count all of these that I'm planning on keeping. I'm also going to put this in there, Rugged Highlands, because we're using green and red quite a bit. These are ones especially that I might not use. We'll see about that. Blue and green, absolutely. We're going to drop those off to the side. Let's put those here so you can see them. Here's where it gets tricky. Rakdos Guildgate and the Cinder Barons, sure, drop those in there. And the Izzet Guildgate. So here's the thing, we don't have a whole lot of white, so I don't know which colors I want to use with white. We have lots of green, so these are more likely to get in. These are less likely to get in, especially since neither of these are Guildgates. So they're not as useful to me in terms of things like the Hate Colossus and stuff. So we'll see how many lands we've got here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 27, 28. 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. It actually gets us really close if we include all of the dual lands that I have. So I think we will. That gets us to 33. Now granted, the problem with all of this is that all of our lands are coming in tapped. What I think this means is we either have to include some artifacts to get us some land ramp or some mana ramp. Like I would love a Chromatic Lantern, if that is a thing that could happen. but I don't know where one is. Even if I have one, I don't know which deck it's in. Maybe my Gishath deck, but I don't think so. So, now we have to narrow down the rest of these cards. First, I need to count and figure out how many I need to get rid of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113. 113 cards. Need to cut out quite a bit. We're trying to get to 65. Okay. So here's where we make some decisions. First of all, in here, I think we go all in on, as much as I'd like to use some of like the Sphinxes and stuff. I think if we go all in on the Serpent thing, that'll give us plenty of big targets. And also we've got some synergy with our blue. So we'll pull all of the ones that have synergy with the Serpent Kraken stuff. And that's pretty much all I'm doing off to the side. Like, I know you can't see what I'm doing, but here's our cards that have synergy, and here's our other ones. It's about even. And there are some good cards in here, like Attempts All-Seeing, which is interesting. But we could use that in a different deck. We could use that as a commander at some point. There's Al-Hamaret, High Arbiter, which is kind of neat. The Magosi Sphinx. There's just a big old Djinn. A big old giant with hexproof. A big old turtle with hexproof. Another one turtle with hexproof. Another one Djinn. That one's actually kind of... I would love to play the Djinn of Wishes, but it might go better in other decks. So we'll pull these. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Cool. 11 cards just gone instantly. Sweet. As far as our colorless stuff, I mean, Partic Wanderer I think is just immediately going to go. Gate Colossus needs to stay 100%. Manalith is helping us on our mana side. I'm fine with that. And Golos is going to be amazing in this deck. So, that's 12 cards pulled. We're down to almost 100. I think next one we go through is actually immediately I'm going to pull this off because no, I don't need it. Actually, I'm going to put it over here with the other white cards I need to sort back into the boxes. So that leaves us with 100 cards. We need to cut 35-ish Although we do only have 33, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 33. So we have 33 lands. If we can cut down to 67, I'll be okay. I think we're going to cut some of these. There are some of these that are instantly going to get cut. Like Ranger's Path pulls us forests. Not useful if we don't have any forests. There's also a few enchantments in this ramp pile that are to generate mana. Like 2 mana of any color or something like that. I don't know if we really need that kind of stuff. Borderland Ranger finds its basics. That's going to be the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go through this and see which ones say to pull a basic. Open the Gates is fine. It pulls us gates. Gates are good. Gates are very good. Civic Wayfinder's got to go. Old Growth Dryads. I thought I was going to finally use it. Nope. Got to go. Font of Fertility. My ramp is looking much worse each turn. Edge of Autumn's got to go. Okay, so that left us with. I cut us out a few good cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 more cards gone. That's 94. We're getting closer, guys. So I'm definitely putting in Wilderness Reclamation. Wilderness Reclamation is so good. So good. And it just got banned in Standard. So I'm going to flaunt it in people's faces that I can actually still use it. Because I play Commander. I think I'm going to cut Dictate of Karametra, which whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana to his or her mana pool of any type that land produced. It can be good, but I also have lots of other ways to get mana advantage without giving my opponents mana advantage. The other thing's going to be how expensive are some of these ramp things. Like Golden Hind is not expensive, but it only gives us green. Rosethorn Acolyte is 2 or is 3, but gives us any color. So Rosethorn Acolyte could actually also be really useful to convert some mana if we need to, since we're working with a weird deck. Harvester Druid could be really good in this deck. Adventurous Impulse is not only ramp, but it's gonna be if we find it late game, we can keep a big creature. Llanowar Elves is good. Dawn's Reflection, I think, works the way I want it to. And that could be really, really good. Here's the thing. Typically with Oasis Ritualist, I'm probably just going to tap it for the 1. And I've got cheaper cards that tap for 1. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Elvish Aberration is weird. Because on the one hand, I could get 3 mana out of it, but on the other hand, it's expensive to get out there, and by that point, I should have an engine going, so I'm going to cut Elvish Aberration, because the forest cycling is not going to be worthwhile, because I won't have forests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 cards to ramp. Azusa is obviously saying. Azusa is amazing in this deck. Okay, so we got 9 green cards now, so we're at 91. Hey, Fire King Sniper, how you doing? We are trying to build. I don't know how long you've been here. We're trying to build a Joda deck, and it's complicated. We're cutting cards at this point, so it could be worse. Let's see. We'll go through the rest of the white cards I've got in here. See what we can actually cut out. Quarry Colossus is actually not going to be great. It's just going to be a 5/6 for 5 now because we don't have any planes. So set that off to the side. I think there's just going to be some cards like Sarah Angel that get cut because they're good. The theme that we're going for is large things, basically. So with Joda, hold it back up to the camera again. Joda lets you cast things for 1 of each color of mana. And so, our goal, since this is our commander and we can play him anytime we have enough mana to play him, our goal is to play that and play some just massive boys. Like this one that I've currently got in my hand. There we go. And just get the most value we can. That's kind of what I'm to at this point. For green, there's lots of ramp and then just large creatures. We have a single counterspell because we're not going to rely on that. I don't like playing blue anyways, so that'll be fine. We'll cut this Bulwark Giant. It's just a little bit of value off of it because it costs 6 normally. I think that'll be okay. Yeah, this deck's gonna be crazy once it's actually built and I get to try it out. This is the first time I've tried to build this kind of deck, and it could be rough. Although we do have cards in this deck that help us along with that. Since I was just going through red, I found one. We have Itali, Primal Storm, that can let us play some of our stuff for free, potentially. And we've also got over in our colorless pile Golos, Tireless Pilgrim, who can let us hopefully cast 3 of these large boys for free, or not for free, but for 7 mana, which even with Joda out, that would be 15 for all 3 if it's the largest boys. So yeah, we've got lots going on over here. Let's look through the black cards, see what we can pull. I think we're gonna pull this Bloodlord because it could be useful in other decks that are actually like life gain decks, and they might happen eventually. I just built a life gain deck, so hopefully I would have some other cards to do that kind of stuff. Okay, so I think we're going to cut Order of Midnight, but first of all, this is the most beautiful Order of Midnight because I love the fairy tale designs from Thrones of Eldraine. This is right up there with the alternate arts for Ikoria. Good grief, I forgot that just for a second. Forgot the name. we have the doofiest little swamp boy. And I don't really want to cut him because I don't know when I would use him. But I'm not getting a whole lot of value off of him. And I kind of want to play large things that I can get a lot of value off of, like Villa's Broker of Blood is gonna stay because it's gonna be lots of value off of that. Unfortunately, I think one that gets cut is gonna be good old Yargle. I was hoping I could use Yargle, but he's just a 9/3 for 5, and I could use him in other decks. Whereas I'm wanting good bit of value if I can get it off of these cards. I think I gotta cut the Bog Stomper. And unfortunately, maybe this Feral Abomination too. Just to kind of get down to a more reasonable size. Now, I will say, we do have other ways to find stuff that we actually want. Like, I have a Diabolic Tutor that I threw in here. So it's not completely hopeless. Alright, let's see how many cards we've got right now, because I lost track of how many we had left. So, I think there's 11 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. 12, 13, 14. Well, actually, I haven't cut anything from this one, so I'll see what all I can cut from this, and we'll go from there. Tangle Spider's not great. It's not super large, and it's just a little bit of value off of it, so we'll drop it off to the side. I think the same's going to happen with the Fastwood Gorger. The thing is, green is going to be a lot of large boys, so I'm fine with leaving quite a bit of green. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 23 with just green. 24. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81. Okay, so we're down to 81. We were at 113. I feel like we've made good progress. Still need to go a little bit farther. I don't know if I can justify leaving this in there. I'd like to, because it's just expensive, but it's a bunch of smaller cards out of it. So I think I'm going to set it off to the side. So that brings us to 80. I think I'm going to try to keep all my dragons from my multicolored stuff, just because they're neat. Which is Silumgar, which I still think is the weirdest coloring for a dragon. Gonna keep Kolagon, which Kolagon could probably be cut if we need to. and the Arshan Sovereign. So which deck did you start making, being as you have told us in the chat that you are starting to make a deck? Because I've started doing that like quite often, just making decks, because I just have time to. We keep the Risen Sanctuary because it's a large boy that is really, really good. It's just expensive in a lot of decks. Sigiled Behemoth I think is going to come out. It's not super great, and we don't get a whole lot of card advantage or anything off of it. I think the same thing's going to happen with this. It's a fine card, but as far as cycling goes, we're not going to get the value off of that. Ruination Worm is just great. Ruination Worm's just good. And same with this boy. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're definitely keeping our board wipe in here. Diabolic Tutor. I think Dark Ritual's gotta stay just because of casting expensive things. Murder is just good. We'll drop Doomblade. Got 4 different Graveyard Recursion cards. I think this one's gonna get dropped because it's expensive, and also they've got better cards than that. All the other 3 are the same price. Potentially do less. I think I'm gonna drop that one. So I may just keep both of these because I cut out quite a bit from this. So I'm keeping a Macabre Waltz and a Grim Discovery, because Grim Discovery I can grab a land if I have to discard one or something off of maybe Macabre Waltz. Wit's End I'm kind of iffy about. It's player discards their entire hand. It's just expensive, I think is why I put it in there, so I'll just drop it off to the side. Okay. So, still need to cut more cards. So drawing to deal damage. I'm trying to think of if there are any cards that I can think of that do that kind of stuff. Off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 44, 49, 55, 6, 7, 8, 9, 61, 2, 68, 74. Alright, we're getting closer. Just need to get to 67. I think I'm gonna have to cut some of these that are just fine. The Alpha Tyrannax. Oh, apparently I had 2 in the stack anyways. Alrighty. They just look different. I think the next Born Colossus. So that brings us down to 71. Fire King Sniper, that sounds like a really cool deck. I don't know. I think typically I'm assuming it's like red, and then as far as the drawing thing, it might be blue. Just because that's kind of what blue does. It draws cards and doesn't let other people do things. Alright, so that's, I think, down to 70. What do we have in terms of white cards over here? I think we're gonna drop him, so that's so yeah, I kind of figured it was red and blue. Red and blue kind of likes to do that. Okay, so I just don't think I'm going to get enough value out of a 6/6 for 5. Or the other part of that isn't going to be useful. So that takes us to 68 cards. Kraken of the Straits is kind of the same thing. It's based on how many islands you have, and we don't have islands. So, and we also have a harbor serpent that wouldn't be able to attack ever, unless our opponent had islands. Sea monster. Kind of the same situation. Can't attack unless our opponent has an island. Seems worth dropping. How many is that? So that's 4 more. So are we at the right number now? Hang on. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 32, 36, 41, 46, 53, 59, 65. We can actually put some of these cards we cut back in. I'm going to use the next Born Colossus because I think he's cool. What else can we put back in? So in our multicolored stuff. So that put us at 66. What else we got going on? of the cards we could play. We can put Bog Stomper back in. That makes it a full 100 card deck. Actually, no. I take that back. We gotta take Bog Stomper out because Joda's gotta go in. So that makes it a full 100 card deck. I'm gonna double check this. 1, 12. This should be 8 cards. Nope, it's 9 cards now. So that's 21, 22, 30, 4, 38, 43, 48, 55, 61, 67, and then 8, 9, 70, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 80, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 90, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 100. Cool. Got it done. And actually, that one is just ready to put together, however, because that one can go ahead and be shuffled and stuff, because I don't have to go pull any more lands or anything. Whew. Man, this has actually been a really useful stream. So we got Joda's deck put together. That was a lot. I don't know how well this deck is going to work. I really hope it works really well. I feel like what's going to happen with this deck is turn 1 through 3 is going to be dead. Maybe. And then there's our other one. So earlier we made the Daxos deck. I will say Fire King Sniper. I am a big fan of blue-green. It's probably one of my favorite ways to play blue, but that's because I'm not a blue player. I like red-green personally, but that's just how I am. That's why I liked making this deck. The Joda deck was a lot of fun just because it was lots of large creatures to just chuck at my opponent and just smack them. Which is why my blue basically only had 1 counterspell. Okay. So there was a lot of, I feel like it was a lot of Throne of Eldraine cards that did that effect, where it was the whenever you draw your second card. There was one in particular, and it may be the one, oh, what was it called? Let's see. Don't remember which one I'm thinking of. The Iron Crag Pyromancer. It's whenever you draw your second card each turn, it deals 3 damage to any target. That deck was a pain. There was also they did that along with Torbrand Thane of Redfell, which is if a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2. There was lots of that kind of stuff going on. That was kind of crazy. But there was a lot of those types of cards where it was on your second turn, or if you draw your second card, it does things, and I don't remember any more off the top of my head. I know there was some that were the red blue dual color that were that way. Like there was an enchantment that was Improbable Alliance. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you create a 1/1 blue fairy. That one showed there was a whole like red blue like second draw deck that was going around when Eldraine was still real popular. I have no idea how expensive some of these cards would be, but if you're doing like a second draw type deck, they might be things you'd want to look into. But yeah, Eldraine was just a good set anyways. It was a lot of fun. I mean, one of my favorite cards from it, actually, I can tell you right now, my favorite card from Eldraine is actually in my Joda deck. Where is he? Where is that boy? There he is. My Bean Boy. This is by far my favorite card from Eldraine. It was a ton of fun, and it made the green player in me very, very happy, because it does everything a green player wants to do. Get land ramp, and then get a giant creature on the board. It's so much fun. Although Yorvo is also really, really cool. I liked Yorvo an awful lot. He came in with 4 +1/+1 counters, I believe. And then every time you played a creature, he either got 1 counter or 2, depending on if the creature was bigger than him or not. So it is a lot of fun. But yeah, I really hope you enjoy the deck you're building. A lot of times what ends up happening is I'll build the deck and then I have to wait to playtest them. So I end up kind of forgetting, like, okay, what did this card do? Because I've never played the cards because it's the first time I'm really using them. So I get to see like all the interactions and everything, and it's really, really neat. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun to build these decks on stream. I will probably do this again, although I don't know if we're gonna do it like next stream or anything. I typically tend to play video games on this stream, but I've been in a mood, okay? Because we've got these 2 decks, and then I'll grab this one. I know it's not been in this video that we built this deck, but we also built a deck for Tiana Ship's Caretaker, which is kind of an angel or a equipment type deck. That was a lot of fun too. But I think it's been about 2 hours. I think I'm gonna probably call the stream because I don't really have another deck I need to build right now, and I've been sitting in the same chair for about 2 hours. So I am going to head out. Thank you, Fire King Sniper, for the follow. I forgot to put the overlay on this setup, but thank you. I'll probably try to stream tomorrow. If I don't stream tomorrow, I'll say so on my Twitter, which is it's the same. It's Toxic Titan YT, but he's got the same banner and profile picture as the Twitch, so it's pretty easy to find. It's just Toxic Titan Gaming, so you could type that in too into Twitter. Probably still work. If you missed part of this stream, because I don't know when you came in, the VOD will be available, I think, shortly after all of this is said and done. Or I'm also going to upload this to my YouTube channel, which is basically the same as my Twitch, except it's just basically I'm exporting the VODs straight from Twitch to YouTube. So it's Toxic Titan Gaming, same banner and profile picture because it makes it easy. And if you are watching from the YouTube side of things, this stuff happens live, and so you get to talk to me like good old Fire King Sniper over here. And so it's just kind of fun to hang out, and usually it's a little bit more exciting, I'll say, just because I tend to play games like Borderlands or something like that, and it makes it just a little bit more chaotic. I'll play Borderlands, I'll play Apex sometimes. Although sometimes I do chill streams like this one, or I haven't played Minecraft in a while, and I have worlds that I started on the streams that I probably should go back to at some point. But those would be a little bit more chill than Apex and things. But I hope you all would join me next time. Like I say, hopefully I'm going to stream tomorrow. Although I don't know when I'm going to stream tomorrow, because typically I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 to 9 at night. But I'm not doing anything during the day, so it may be a situation where I'll start streaming earlier in the day. I just got to think about that kind of stuff. And also, it depends on, jobs and things. So like I say, if I decide to stream earlier tomorrow, I'll let you all know via Twitter first, and then it'll just go live and launch on Twitter and Twitch and such. And if you don't make it live, that's fine. You can watch it later. It will be available. So I'm just going to head out. I got other YouTube to watch because I'm that kind of person. And also, I got some tea to finish in my Marvel mug, which is really cool. So, thank you all for being here. And until next time, have fun, play games, and take care. Bye.